So, do we leave space for our spouses to grow, to elevate, to change? Or are we so connected to the fact that we have known them for X number, 17, X number of years that we unconsciously put them in a box? And maybe they do the same to us. That's what I wanted to chat about real quick this evening with you. So, I feel like we definitely can pride ourselves and feel comfortable with how well we know our partners, right? We're like, we know how they like to chill in the corner at a party or a social event before they really kind of get into the mix. We know that they enjoy their pancakes with crispy edges. We know that, they like to call their sister every, so often or third Thursday, of the month. We know that they enjoy an intimate setting rather than a huge bold party. We know that they like to pull out those crazy bold Hawaiian shirts on vacation. We know that they have a tendency to get quiet and shut down during a disagreement. We know that they get stubborn about whether or not they know a certain thing. Like we have a sense of comfort and familiarity in the familiarity that we have with our spouses. And when they start to shift and change, sometimes we can go into like, okay, who is this and what you do with my boo, mode. And it's just their way of growing and evolving. And sometimes we're not as open to that as we want to be. And sometimes they're not as open, to it with us. But the reality is the beautiful thing about human beings is that we're layered and we're complex. And because of that, in different seasons, we can grow and we can change and we can move. And the reality is that what is true for our partners then does not have to be true for them always. What is true for you right now in this moment may not be true for you in a different season in your life. And you're two people growing and elevating, evolving at different paces and for different reasons and in different seasons. And that is something that we learn to respect and honor and navigate through because familiarity brings comfort. There's the predictability of who we're with over time, and knowing that and feeling like we understand that makes us feel safe, because in comfort and familiarity there's also a sense of safety. And when there's more spontaneity because some layers are being drawn, being peeled back, that can be uncomfortable. And it can also be exciting because we get to know another layer after X number of years. We get to know another side of our spouses that maybe they don't always show us, or something that they weren't ready for in past seasons but are ready for now. They're coming into their own. They are becoming just as you are and we are becoming. It's a beautiful thing when we can leave and create space for that and for that to happen. So I remember for years, okay, for years, I would be saying to my husband, like, why don't you go, kick it with your friends? You can go and set something up, and go out and have a good time and whatever. And he was like, nah, I'm good. That was his energy. Nah, I'm good, type of energy for so long. And I just, in my head, because I'm a female with female friendships, with deep female friendships that I have worked to nourish and nurture over the years and to hang out with. And I was like, I want this for him too. We're in our 20s. I was like, do your thing, have some. And he was just not into it. And then I was like, okay, he told me he's good, and I am just going to have to believe him in this season. In my head, I could be imposing my stuff on him. Like, this is gonna be so good for you. This is amazing. You should. This is not for him in this season. And I could have easily said, and it wouldn't have been untrue to be like, oh, he has friends, he'll talk to them, but he's not really. out there kicking it and, doing a lot with his friends. He's very sociable. He can be in any environment and strike up a conversation and talk to people and work a room in an organic, authentic way. He's not working it. He's just moving through the space and having genuine conversation with people. It's really cool to see. It's one of the things that I enjoy. One of the little things that I enjoy about being in social settings with him, because he's not like on me. He can be in an unfamiliar space with unfamiliar people and get to know people. And that's despite his like wall around kicking it with his friends or making plans. He's quite social in social settings, even though he's also would say that he's a homebody and all of these things. And I could say, excuse me, yeah, my man is a homebody, and he's not really gonna go out and kick it too much. He's kind of chill like that. And I would not have been wrong. And then we come here, okay, to Panama in the first like month, 2.5 months. He's already met up with friends and gone out for had coffee or met them for lunch, or I think he's making some other plans to do not paddle boarding or paddle some game, okay, with a paddle and a ball. Paddle boarding sounds like something you do on the ocean. I think is paddle boarding. I'm saying it wrong, but you know what I'm talking about. Maybe it's the paddle game, kind of like tennis or handball, but not really. But anyway, I digress. He's not. I've heard him. I overheard. Okay, those kind of plans going down, and I'm like, I didn't even say anything. I wasn't even like, oh, okay, so I thought you wasn't the type to be hanging out with friends. I'm just observing it and I'm loving it, because I could have said in a different season he's not the type to do that. And yet he is doing it here. And in this season in his life and in this moment and in where we are right now and where he is just in a space of being willing to do that and wanting to do that, and feeling comfortable and um and into it, in a way that he wasn't before. And I can just look at that and be like excited for him in this season of his life and in what he is embracing. And I'm looking at myself, and I've talked about a little on the channel about what I'm embracing, right? Looking to find and discover creative outlets for myself. I just went down a rabbit hole looking at my old reels on Instagram back when we were like dancing and pointing and lip syncing. And I was like, I was out here having fun, killing the reels, okay, when they first came out, before they all started looking like B roll over text over B roll, text over B roll, more text over B roll. I was out here having fun with that. And it was a creative outlet for me. And I'm just rediscovering what those creative outlets are now in this season in my life. And I feel confident, right? I was going to say I would hope, but I feel confident that my husband is not going to look at me like, who is this woman? All of a sudden, you're like taking improv classes and trying to find like a chorus to sing in and going to karaoke bars or whatever it is that I'm going to do on this journey. He's just going to be like, oh, that's cool. I love that for you. Do your thing, figure it out. And I'm doing the same for him. But that's because we both strive, like we all fall short, but we both strive to leave space for growth. You have to leave space for growth. If you put a plant in a box and you close the lid, it will not grow for many reasons: lack of water, lack of sun, but also it has no space to grow. When a plant is in a pot originally and it's small and it starts to grow, at some point it outgrows that pot. At some point you have to replant it and repot it in a bigger pot so that you leave room for expansion. And in relationships, we are no different. We leave that spaciousness and that room for all of us to grow and to elevate and to change and to shift in the seasons that we're in. And that's what we all need. And that's what we all deserve. Because if not, we wind up running the risk of putting ourselves or our partners whom we love in a box, just like that plant. And it does not feel like it has room to do more or be more. And that's not what we want. We don't want to feel stifled in our relationships. We want to feel like we have the freedom to fly and the freedom to move and the freedom to shift and to go through our own metamorphoses. And yeah, do you leave room for that in your relationship? I think this is a question of many questions that I ask myself when things come up for me as I strive to be intentional and conscious about my relationship with myself. And if I'm feeling in kind of alignment, with where I am and where I feel like I'm going, and with my spouse, am I leaving room for that? Or am I boxing myself for him in? And so that's the question I'll leave you with tonight. Do you leave room for your spouse to grow? Because again, who they were then isn't who they have to be forever. And who you are now in this moment doesn't have to be who you are in another season. So, yeah, let's leave space for that. Are we leaving space for that? So, this isn't a long one. I'll leave you with that question tonight. And you could definitely let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. If you like this video, you can give it a thumbs up. I'm Imani Aieshah. I am making daily videos here on YouTube to remind us of how we can have greater relationships with self that feel good and with our partners in the midst of the inevitable changes and transitions and challenges and shifts that we go through. And I also share insights and lessons from our current big transition, which is my family and I moving and navigating life abroad. So if that is your vibe, if you enjoy conversations like this, if that's your vibe, please subscribe. And thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you, your time, your listening ear, and I'll see you tomorrow.